Hello and welcome back to the 1-year anniversary show for the Spideydude experience. I am your friendly neighborhood host, Zach Joyner. And this episode, we're going to be talking the trailer for the new Spider-Man show, No Way Home, excuse me. We'll talk about some action figures. We'll talk about ASM and Sinister War. We got all sorts of goody things. We got a packed program for you tonight, but we always want to thank, of course, our good friends at patreon.com/Spideydude Network. We want to thank guys like Vinkman, Scott, Greg, and Jurgen. These guys are absolutely huge for us. We really do appreciate their time, their patronage at patreon.com/Spideydude Network. Some goodies that are going to be coming very, very soon. More Voices from the Eyrie going to be put out to our Patreon subscribers early before it goes out to the general public. So if you want to check out that show, you can always check it out at patreon.com/Spideydude Network. Also want to give some goodies that are going to be coming very soon for the Patreon page, such as early shows, but also the audio-only shows. They'll get them first. As we get those caught up, we'll be getting those caught up this weekend. We're a little behind, but we're going to get caught up. Of course, you can always check us out, our other show, like Make Mine Mayday, and this show, Spideydude Experience. Really excited about it. Really excited to be here and be participating in it. And so, with that, we're going to get started. Thanks to our Patreon subscribers. So, I will make myself... There we are. Hey everybody, Zach Joyner here. Like I said, packed show. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. We're going to be going through real quick through some of these things. Some of these things you probably already know. Obviously, the trailer dropped last week, but we're going to be talking more about that here in a minute. But got some guests, of course. I don't do this alone. Got himself, the man making cat noises for reasons. So welcome, aka Neil.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And we got Adam. Hello, Adam.
Hello, Neil the Cat Man.
Neil the Cat Man. Also, we'll have Greg Mashansky on. He'll be on in a couple of minutes. But no Paul tonight. No Paul. Unfortunately, he lost his voice, so he is voiceless, and therefore he cannot participate.
Shouldn't have lost it. It's his fault. This is all his fault.
Listen, laryngitis is nothing to sneeze at. So, So, welcome to the show, everybody. We got some people watching, and we got some comments flowing through. Hello, Zach and the gang. Zach's rocking the cane beard. Oh, just wait. I was just talking about that. It's going to get
Raising Canes.
That is the only place in Nebraska that you can get sweet tea.
Really?
In this little town that we're working in, that's the only place you can get sweet tea. It's sacrilege.
Oh.
All right. Vinkman says hello. Of course. Thanks, guys, for watching. Thank you, Vinkman, for being a Patreon subscriber. Hey to the gang. Glad to see you guys back. So, like I mentioned, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff tonight. Speaking of, I was just talking about him, and here he is from Erie, Greg XB.
What were you saying about me?
That's what I was saying about you. The host of Voices from the Eyrie, Greg Mashansky, also for the record.
How's that Galactus pre-order feeling for you?
Well, I put it on the credit card, so I'm gonna have to pay that off the next couple of months. But you know what? In about a year, I get a Galactus show for it. And as for
what if you never get it?
God.
Then I joined the class action lawsuit.
Dude, that thing had 27,000.
28,000, I think.
28,000 was the final. So like everybody was like hemming and hawing that this thing wasn't going to make it 14, and then this thing just exploded and almost doubled what their original back was. So
it beat the Sentinel, and the Sentinel's an army builder.
Yeah, it did beat the Sentinel. Well, there was a lot of people that were like they hated they missed out on it last year. So I know there was. Look, I even sent a tweet to Dan, who is one of the marketing guys. I said, I hate that I couldn't get it. I just got done moving 600 miles, and I just couldn't put it in my budget. But I'm glad that it got made, and I'm glad it's going to get made. I'm glad the community is going to enjoy it. So I'm excited for everybody on the Galactus thing. But yeah, Greg's one of those guys that backed it. So thank you, Greg. I will try to get it next year, and I will spend probably twice the amount of money that it costs, or 3 times. 10 times.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. You might end up with the Galactus in some form. We'll talk about that. And as for Voices from the Eerie, as of less than 5 minutes ago, literally just before I clicked the link for StreamYard, episode 3 is recorded, edited, and completely in the can. It's done and ready to go.
So we got one episode to record, and then we're gonna start promoting. We're gonna start promoting this thing pretty soon, and it's gonna get everything. I'm gonna be working on the behind-the-scenes stuff, getting it ready to go, and we're really excited about it. Super excited. So cannot wait. You guys will love this show. I might have listened to the first episode, given that I got paid. So because
Zach's the one who cuts the check to make this show happen. So I think he's the one with the most vested interest.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for it. It's gonna be we're gonna have all new shows coming out this year. Later on this year. Some stuff that's Patreon exclusive, some stuff that's not. Yes, I'm still working on wrapping up CS, but then they bring back Ben Reilly, and I don't know how I feel about that now. So hey. But we got to wrap up the Spencer run. So
still not there yet, but we're getting there.
But yeah, so let's talk about some news first. And I cannot share my screen because I no longer have an extra screen. Otherwise, I can't see you guys. So if somebody wants to share their screen, that'd be
okay. Can you send me a link to it, or?
Yeah, let's do. We're going to talk. We don't have to. I don't have to send a link on this because I don't want to get copyright struck. But the trailer the trailer finally came out. So let's talk about that. Oh, sorry.
Make you on this show? Wow.
I want it to be good. I mean, I hope that Alfred Molina and Willem Dafoe are there for reasons instead of just easy fan service. I mean,
Sure.
Am I excited to see them again? Of course I am. They're great, and they were great as those characters. But you know, I'm cautiously ambivalent. I mean, hopefully it'll be fine. Hopefully, I still have the feeling that they're chasing the Oscars that Into the Spider-Verse won. But
I mean, it's being released during Oscar bait season, so it's like it's probably
it's not going to win an Oscar.
It'll win some technical Oscars probably, but yeah, but I mean, them releasing it in December. Now, part of that's also pandemic too, so I'm excited for it. I got hoodwinked on that fan made trailer that was really well done. That made
me too.
Somebody made a fan made trailer and it was like throwing all the names that have been rumored in there. Adam, what'd you think?
I'd say I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm kind of looking forward to it. I hope it's good. If Toby shows up, I'm gonna cry in the theater.
Time.
When I showed that fan trailer to my wife, Sarah, she literally screamed whenever she saw Toby on. I was like, she goes, "They better bring Toby." I was like, I don't know.
You know what they should do to make it a real instant win? Have Christopher Daniel Barnes and Josh Keaton on there delivering pizzas or something. Just that
would be awesome.
There was a rumor that like Toby was going to be in it as a pizza delivery guy, and like Andrew Garfield was going to be like a paparazzi guy or something. Which
that would be so.
Yeah, that'd be like a slap in the face.
Like. I mean, that would be totally a meme, though, where he like delivers the pizzas and be like, "Pizza time," and they're like, "Oh God."
Yeah, but that's it. That would probably be it. And it's like, oh, what was that?
Listen, like I got people need to This could totally end up being another WandaVision situation where the fans thought everything was going to be doing all this, and it, like made expectations go high. But then everybody got disappointed, and so I don't want to see that from people. But I'm legitimately excited. Neil, did you talk about this on Crawlspace? I didn't see Yeah, so,
Not on like any podcast, but I've talked about it on the forum.
Right.
We talked about We talked about Alfred Molina, how he did Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah.
If I were a rich man,
all day long.
The last movie I watched with Alfred
man, oi!
The last movie I watched with Alfred Molina, and this is not a new movie at all, but just the last thing I watched chronologically in my life, he ended up spiked to a wall. I think you can guess which movie that is.
Blade.
Oh, come on! He wouldn't throw Harrison Ford back his whip. After taking the idol.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Raiders from the Lost Ark. The first
I
appearance.
thought you were saying the most recent thing he did.
No, the most recent thing that I watched, not the most recent thing I did. I've seen it a million times. I just happened to watch it recently. Again.
So Venkman wants.
Venkman got it. He got it in the first try. He got it.
Venkman just wants MCU Spider-Man to be over and done with. So one, I am glad that they are going to address the elephant in the room, and they're not just going to jump into the multiversal stuff. I never thought I'd see the day that One Moment in Time was adapted, and we were talking about this off air. But in Marvel, I trust, because they took Civil War, a story that I did not like, and I didn't like the implications, and I didn't like how everything worked, and they made everything work. I'm hopeful that this does not become Doctor Strange 2.5 or 1.5 to 2. I want Spider-Man to be driving the story, not Steven. But I do enjoy the two Ditko characters being on the same, sharing the screen at the same time. That is a really cool element that I think.
I brought this up.
We have found the wand of Watum.
I brought up on the Crawl Space Discord, but I made a point that Doctor Strange has kind of taken Iron Man's place as like the sarcastic pop culture laden quip master.
Yeah,
and he was kind of already on his way to being that in the first movie, where he's like the "try me, Beyonce" gimmick.
Right. Yeah.
But now that Iron Man's dead, now he has the chance to take over full time. I guess it's just the character Benedict Cabbage Patch wants to play.
Listen,
Shit, did I say it again?
Smaug.
I just want to say real quick, Disney better be giving the Ditko family a big fat check. That's what I want to see.
They don't pay anybody.
I know, but they should though.
They don't pay Brubaker, the guy who made the Winter Soldier, They paid him $5,000.
They didn't pay Scarlett Johansson what she was owed.
They're not even paying the people who are in the movie.
Hang on. There you go.
Yes.
Yeah. Or there we go. Good job, Greg. So yeah, no, I'm super excited for it. This made me the anticipation. I don't know why it took so damn long for us to get this trailer, but we finally got it. I thought it was well done.
I think they wanted all the hubbub from the other MC movies to die off, so Sony could get some of that sweet marketing money, and it paid off. I'm going to be honest. Looking at the market, looking at the metrics, their gambit paid off. It's I think it's the highest viewed trailer in 24 hours.
Yeah, I mean,
ever. It beat out Endgame.
When you Endgame, that's pretty good. You've done a lot. The buzz is there, and it's good to see the buzz.
I think it's 355 million global views in the first 24 hours, compared to Avengers Endgame's previous record of 289 million views. So there might be some people are saying this movie's going to tank. I think that we might see some serious cash flow. Even though I'm not looking forward to this movie as much as some other people here are.
Right.
I'm not gonna. It's gonna make bank. I think so. Far From Home made a lot more money than I thought it was gonna make.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, it did. So
Amazing Spider-Man 2 made a ton of money also, and we all agree that's the worst one.
Don't you know I'm Electro?
That was a terrible Jamie Foxx impression.
He's back too.
That's sad. That's
okay. Here's my bad Jamie Foxx impression. The D is silent.
yeah.
Oh, am I the only one who's seen Django and Shane Deer?
I have.
Uh,
Django!
I'm not going to finish that.
So, yeah,
No, I can't do that.
Stop it! Stop it!
That was what would happen if you unleashed that. We would all be blown up to smithereens.
Okay, do it. So I'm gonna pull up I'm screen sharing just because you sent the link.
Yeah. So next up, we're gonna talk about the new Marvel Legends. And
I pulled it up. There we go.
All right. So if you scroll,
Oh, who cares about the Eternals?
So they finally.
You mean New Gods 2 Electric Boogaloo?
They finally have
Inhumans 3.0.
Yeah. I'm having to play a little bit.
Kirby may have repeated himself a few times.
That's fine.
Sorry,
Can you hear me?
Zach. Okay, go on. I can hear you.
Oh, here's a Miles Morales Game Reverse one. That looks pretty good.
That was
Yeah.
good, yeah.
Here's
That
Moreland.
pretty good.
I think with the sucky hands.
Oh, yeah.
That a few people thought were animated series Morbius.
Yeah.
I was one of those. So Moreland is the big comic reveal. Him and Shriek. Moreland, possibly a little bit of reuse from the
Sebastian Shaw.
Sebastian Shaw.
Yeah.
But obviously a long sought after figure, whether you like Moreland or not. This is
With an armadillo build a figure.
so the armor.
My point of view on that is I'm a big fan of the JMS run, more so than I'm a big fan of JMS. So I'm going to be happy to have a piece of his run on there, and I don't blame him for the crap that happened later. He only wanted Moreland to appear that one time, and
including the weird hands. Like that was.
It looks like it. Okay, I get what they're trying to do with the sucky hands from JRJR, but it looks like he has like a rash on his hands. And he's trying to scratch it away. It's weird.
That wasn't even from JRJR. That was actually from.
That was. I think it was in the other. Yeah.
It was in the other. Yeah. That was.
Oh wait, no. Okay, yeah.
That was the late great Mike Ringo.
Yeah, it was
yeah,
really
short. The funny thing is, shortly
I
after.
don't know why I thought of Ramita Jr.
Yeah, the funny thing is, shortly after I saw this figure, I asked JMS on Twitter. He never responded a Spidey related question. It was mostly satire of the sliding comic timeline, how everything is always 10 years ago. I asked him, because in the world of Babylon 5, are they still making Marvel and DC comics? And if so, has Spider-Man now only gotten his powers shortly after the Earth Minbari War?
In Deep Space Nine, Starfleet nationalized Marvel and DC comics, and they just continue to make them now.
Above Moreland, Neil is Shriek. That's the other comic figure that they previously had not announced.
Really happy they're doing her.
Yeah, if you'll click on her for me.
Yeah.
So, if you're a fan of the '90s, she is going to be finally.
That's a very unflattering angle.
Yeah, the pose.
Hang on. There we go. Now her symbol isn't halfway across her body. Yeah.
So this one is unique, and this was notable because this is going to be a brand new female body type that they are releasing. It's all pinless joints, so it is going to be one that they're going to be using moving forward. There is a little shorter than the previous set of female figures. She is a little shorter. But they said they're going to get some longer legs to accommodate for it and make it a little more balanced out. But yeah, Shriek is going to be all new sculpt, the all new sculpt in the one of the all new sculpts on the wave. Of course, she comes with as per usual with the female piece.
Sorry,
she does come with the torso of Armadillo. So if you're an Armadillo fan, this is going to be exciting. The other one, I think, maybe the best figure that they announced, but that nobody should be surprised about. Because they announced a while ago the GameStop exclusive, the Miles Morales Gamerverse figure. The GameStop version of it was
what's wrong with his neck?
Oh, it's just the way the head sculpt is. So this one's also a lot of new material.
It comes with Venom Blast hands. That's neat.
I like that.
It comes with Venom Blast hands. It comes with other alternate hands.
Miles doing Orange Justice.
Yeah, so this one's going to be a pretty sought after figure, I think, in the line. 7-figure wave. Obviously, we talked about the two Spideys, the Doctor Strange and the J. Jonah Jameson, not Jack Jameson.
I'm so happy we got an Alex Jones figure. It's after all this time, it just feels right.
I wish he would have had a regular, like Raimi version head sculpt, but
just say not bald.
Spider-Man's putting web fluid in the water supply to turn the freaking goblins gay.
Made my hair fall out.
but I think we're going to be getting I really think next year we're going to be getting a lot of Spider-Man stuff. The final thing that they did reveal was they do these cosplay things. The helmet for it's electronic. It's the Iron Spider helmet. They were working on a cloth version. But they felt like they could easily get this one out, be a little bit more of a hard plastic. It has multiple settings on the eyes. It's got a bunch of circuitry on the inside, so only you could see. But yeah, this is they've done several of these helmets. They did Iron Man. They've done Star-Lord. They did a Black Panther a while back. So this is one of the cosplay. They do 3 a year. This is the third one. This will be available. All this is available right now for pre-order. This one's $124.99, so it's not the price of that has actually gone up. It used to be like $100. But yeah, these are all available up on Hasbro Pulse or your favorite toy shop.
This isn't relevant, but the Eternals figures look really bad. This is just one of those symptoms of most of the MCU's actors' faces don't translate well to small plastic figurines.
Well, actually, it's more like these were made with production.
But Bandai does it so well, actually.
They were made with production stills, and so these were based off of like concept art. Most of them.
Yeah, like this druid costume. This druid costume looked completely different, I think, from the one that we actually have in the movie.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where these have been sitting for almost a year, and they couldn't scrap the ones that they already created. And they're, like I say, they're based off concept art, so that's why you see things like that. Of course, you'll have your usual QC issues with Marvel Legends, but yeah, that's unfortunate.
I will say the Harold and Kumar go to Celestials figure looks great.
Also, let's be honest. If people like the movie in a couple of years, they'll do updated figures that are more movie accurate. Like
aren't they redoing Captain Marvel figures recently?
Yes.
Yeah, they're gonna do.
You can get Obadiah Stane right now in his big bald dome.
Yeah. So Obadiah Stane was that was way back, but yeah, they've been redoing like the Infinity War, the Infinity Saga waves. They never released a Quicksilver until recently. They did the Searcher. They did Ironmonger. So they've been doing a lot of these. And if you're looking for ninjas, by the way, if you're a fan of Daredevil and stuff like that, the hand ninjas right now they're out of stock, but they have trooper packs. They also announced Shield trooper packs and Skrull trooper packs. And of course, the big thing, obviously, as we mentioned too, Galactus got funded. It closed yesterday as of this live recording, and so yeah,
I'm gonna have to make Galactus in my Unicron fight when he shows up.
Yeah, right. So
you got the touch. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so you got the power.
All right, guys, are we ready?
I think we also have some sad news to report.
Yeah, let's. I knew I was missing a news topic, and I was going to do this at the top of the show originally, and I just we want to mention Ed Asner.
Yeah.
Veteran of 3 Spider-Man shows, J. Jonah Jameson in the 90s. I forget the cop's name in the MTV show. Actually, considering Ed's age, I'm surprised MTV let him even into the building.
Hang on, what's the name of the cop? I remember. I know the cop you're talking about, right? The one with the mustache.
Yeah, I think so. Let's do this correctly. We should.
Hang on.
Yeah, go ahead and Neil. I'll stop sharing your screen for a second. Let's go ahead and pull that up. Ed Asner. Passing away. So he was 92 years old. As Greg mentioned, he was the voice of J. Jonah Jameson for people like Greg and me and Adam. That was the voice of Jonah.
He was Officer Barr in the MTV series.
And he was Uncle Ben in the Spectacular Spider-Man. He
Yes.
played these two father figures to Peter Parker, two very different father figures, and he did both so fucking well.
Well, this
Sorry
is
for my language.
oh, it's not me this time. Let's go, boys.
I mean, we just
That's
eulogized him. We just eulogized him on the third episode of Voices from the Eerie, and we spent a good 20 minutes on him. I mean, I knew he and Greg were friends, but I had no idea that they were that close. And
yeah, they're very. He wrote some very poignant things online. Greg, I'm going to go pull them up right quick because I know you posted them in our group. But
and he also had a reputation as a real gentleman, a real nice guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he had he had some very strong beliefs that even people who disagreed with him are saying nothing but nice things about him. That he was always a gentleman, that he always was a professional. He treated people right, and that's a good thing, especially in this day and age of all this division. You need to be able to sometimes reach past that and just see other people's humanity. And I'm sorry, I don't really mean to go there. It's just that,
right,
like I said, where we are now, where I feel we are now, I think we need to get away from that.
yeah. So I'm going to read real quick John Semper's eulogy, basically.
I created Ed Asner.
No.
Not say that. Good Lord.
No.
Good Lord. Not cool, Neil. Too far. All right. So John posted on Facebook. He says, well, this one hits hard. The great Ed Asner has died. He had the pleasure of working with Ed for several years when he was the producer and head writer for Spider-Man, the animated series, for which Ed was the voice of J. Jonah Jameson. He can still remember in his heart pounding in his chest as he found himself sitting next to him in their first table read. Here was the man who had starred in major motion pictures, several mega-hit television series, a multiple Emmy winner who had been inducted in the Television Academy Hall of Fame. He was a household name, a true Hollywood legend. But as he soon found out, there was never a time when he didn't feel completely welcome in his presence. He was charming, engaging, hilarious, profane, sly, sarcastic, warm, incredibly intelligent, total pleasure to work with. He can even go so far as to say he considered him a friend. There are too many Hollywood legends who have hugged him and smooched him on the cheek. He was a wonderful, hardworking actor. Even as recently as a few years ago, when he could barely walk, he appeared on stage in a one-man comedy. Those in the audience were entranced by his talent, his stamina, as they doubled over in laughter for 90 minutes while he barely broke a sweat. Ed was a fierce and vivacious liberal, yay, his words, and one hell of a great human being. He really cared about helping others and advocating for what he perceived as being right, even when it cost him in his career. It didn't matter to him. He was brave, and for the cause of justice, he was an unapologetic fighter. Rest in peace, Ed Asner. John will miss him tremendously. And then, come on. Then I'll read quickly Greg Wiseman's statement. He said, so this hits hard. It's been a stressful weekend as Greg's father went to the hospital with chest pains. A stent that had been replaced previous year had failed and was replaced again Saturday morning during an angioplasty. Greg has been concerned and worried, but the procedure seemed to go well, and his father was set to go home that day. They seemed to have dodged a bullet, but there was a second gun. Greg slept in that day. He woke up to the two pieces of news. One, that his dad was good. His sister picked him up from the hospital and took him straight to breakfast. His mother was annoyed at not being included, but that's a whole other story. He's home now, and Greg had talked to him. He sounded cheerful and all good. But number two, Ed Asner had passed away. He spent most of the day doing laundry and other mundane tasks. Life goes on, right? As it has to. But it was difficult getting his head around the whole thing. Greg's gotten many calls and texts today offering condolences as if Greg was a part of the Asner family. Folks seem to know how close I felt to Ed, or he felt to Ed. But he doesn't want to exaggerate. Ed was his friend. And he hopes that he knew I was his as well. But he hadn't talked to him in a while, at least a couple of years. You can partially blame that on the pandemic, he supposes, but there was a lot of people he'd lost touch with. If anything, this was a reminder for him to get in touch with people. He's going to make an effort to do that. In any case, there are many, many people who knew Ed better than he did, but who were closer to Ed than he was. But nonetheless, at the risk of turning this post into his own self-aggrandizement, he's going to spend a few paragraphs here on the subject of Ed Asner as he knew that he knew and loved. He was a fan of Ed's long before he met him. Like many people, he first entered his awareness playing Lou Grant on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Later, he got a kick out of picking him out of reruns, where he usually played the heavy in such series as The Wild Wild West and others. But as Lou, Ed was simply brilliant. One of the truly classic scenes in all of television, the scenes in the Mary Tyler Moore Show pilot, where Lou interviews Mary for a job. He tells people to do themselves a favor and view it, and then post the link. That scene had a major effect on Greg, even seeing it as a kid. And now, having just rewatched it, the genius in the writing and the two performances still knocks him out. There's something else about Lou and Mary. Watching their interactions was like a bit like watching his parents. The connection in my mind between Lou and his dad was especially strong. Ed and his father were two Ashkenazi Jews from the Midwest. Did I say that right, Greg?
No, but I can barely say it correctly, so don't worry about it. It's basically it's Jews that are from the Slavic area, the Ukraine, Russia, Poland. I'm half one, and I can't even pronounce it correctly. So,
Okay, his Greg's dad was Wiseman's dad was from Chicago. Ed was from Kansas City. They're gruff and loving. They even had mannerisms in common. There was much more he's sure that they didn't have in common. Something connected the two men in his mind. And meanwhile, his admiration for Asner as a performer knew no bounds. When he saw him in the Lou Grant series and Rich Man, Poor Man, and Roots, that admiration only increased. He learned of his activism and the price he paid for it. That admiration shot through the roof. Years later, when they had begun pre-production on Gargoyles, he thought of Ed Asner or of Lou Grant as the inspiration for Hudson. In fact, when they held auditions for the role, he wrote at the bottom of the character description that Hudson hates spunk. This was, of course, a variation on Lou's classic line from the above job interview scene. Now, to be clear, Greg never imagined they'd get Ed to play the role. He figured he was way too big of a star for them to land, but lo and behold, a few days later, Ed came in to audition for the part. And later, he told him that when he read the character description, he was initially thrilled. The Hudson hates spunk line made him feel like he was a lock to land the role. And then a couple minutes later, he thought if he didn't land the role, it'd be really awful. But of course, he immediately understood the character and nailed his audition, only for Jamie Thomason and Greg to throw him a curveball, asking him to do it again in a Scottish accent. He nailed that too. Working with Ed was a joy. He was fun and funny and so supportive. In addition to playing Hudson and Burbank and Jack Danforth / Dane on Gargoyles, he cast him in his recurring characters on Max Steel, 3x3 Eyes, Witch, Young Justice, and Reign of the Ghosts. When casting Peter Parker's late Uncle Ben in The Spectacular Spider-Man, Ed was the only person he'd ever considered. He always brought so much into each and every role, and more than that, he was a great friend to Greg. After the first season of Max Steel, when he couldn't find a job for over a year and thought he might have to give up on his writing career, Ed was there, offering him support. They had lunch at Musso and Frank's. He looked at pictures of my kids out of my wallet and told me to laminate them. He introduced me to his son, Matt Asner, a producer. He didn't allow me to wallow in self-pity or to badmouth guys who he had believed had done him wrong. He just reassured Greg that he had the ability and that he would find his way through. In essence, he was my work dad. So today, as you might imagine, it's been complicated. His dad's home and healthy, and Ed's gone. I'm grateful and sorrowful and struggling, but life goes on. It has to, right? Finally, he's going to quote Hudson from Gargoyles and The Price, an episode that spotlighted the character. Ed, as Hudson told Xanatos, a friendly word of advice. True immortality isn't about living forever, man. It's about what you do with the time you have. All your scheming's done, what will be your legacy, Xanatos? I think we all knew that Ed Asner did amazing things with the time he had. And though we'll miss him dearly, his legacy is clear and shining. And Brian says it's pronounced Awashkenazi. That's how it's pronounced. So thank you, Brian.
Yeah, I heard Greg say it today on the recording, and it wasn't quite like that either. But I don't know. It's a hard word, even for me.
All right, so that is the statements about Ed Asner, gentlemen. Greg,
both great statements.
Neil, I know you made fun of Semper, and there's an ongoing joke that we have in our group about him. But what did you think? You're muted, buddy.
Was I muted?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I clown on Semper a lot, but I thought that was very well written, very I guess poetic. Oh, what's this? Oh. It's Brian trying to pronounce check us.
Thanks, Brad. Brian,
Not
Brian,
Brad. What's wrong with you?
he is our reviewer for the front page on Spideydude.com, Amazing Spider-Man. So we'll be actually looking for some more reviewers as we get to get closer to the new era of Spider-Man. We'll be talking about that. So as Venkman said to Greg, language, Captain America.
Thanks.
Tim Bell salute to a great voice actor, just a great actor in general who shall be missed. As great as he was, grand as Luke Grant on my Mary Tyler series.
Mary Tyler Moore.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
So yeah,
I watched a lot of it on Nick at Night back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, no, I mean, it's obviously a very sad thing. Adam, got any thoughts?
Just great tributes, and he just sounded like a really great guy. It's a shame that we lost him.
All right. Yeah, I agree. 100%. All right.
And at the same time, may we all live as full a life as that.
Ugh, you're all lucky I lost my voice. Yeah, well, you're going to be on next episode, buddy, hopefully. Lord willing.
We have a next episode?
Yeah, no, Greg almost destroyed. No, I'm kidding. All right, so as we move on from
Greg destroys Spideydude experience with Galactus and Unicron.
All right, so here we go, guys.
Unicron's right over there.
Let's talk about. Okay. By the way, Neil, you never sent me the code, so I have not read Sinister War 4.
Oh, was I supposed to?
I haven't either.
Oh my god!
I was saying I had it. I thought I was going to give you the code.
All right, so let's talk about Sinister War 3. I'm gonna go try to. Yeah.
Hang on, Zach.
Yeah, the website that I read them at, I buy the trades. But the website I read them at with those scans only just recently posted the scans. So
it was story timed on Co this afternoon.
I don't go to Co, but
yeah.
At least.
But anyways, I guess you want me to take the reins on this one, Zach?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, so Sinister War number 3, written by Nick Spencer and Ed Brisen's back. Huzzah. Art by Mark Bagley, Carlos Gomez, and Zay Carlos. Inks by Andrew Hennessy, Andy Owens, John Dell, Carlos Gomez, and Zay Carlos. Jesus Christ. And Brian Reber and Andrew Crossley as the colorists. I'm not going to talk about colors this time. Yeah, there was. If no one here has listened to Satellites, there was a whole thing where Symbio Bro got upset at me for talking about colors constantly, and so I went an entire podcast without talking about colors. They thought I couldn't do it, but I proved them wrong. Okay, that's not important though. Hang on, Zach. I'm gonna send you the link real quick.
I already got it. So.
Oh, okay. So the issue begins with Kindred pontificating yet again. Okay, this is getting kind of tiresome, I'm going to admit, guys. Kindred pontificating constantly is getting kind of old, y'all. So Peter's...
Well, it was kind of like Peter at the beginning of the run, really. Peter was pontificating a lot during the beginning of the...
But Kindred's been pontificating for most of Spencer's run.
That is true, yes.
You should hear how they complain about it on CBR. They're really...
I like this book, but that's one of the few things that really aggravates me is Kindred just monologuing. But anyways,
it's almost over.
But anyways, Peter's back is against the wall. He's been beaten, bootlicked, and bamboozled by his most bombastic villains, and has webbed himself essentially back together. And all seems lost for him. But who comes out of the smoke but Black Cat, who hears about a big brouhaha down at the Dead Body Depot. And she's brought friends, the new Avengers, except Psych! It's the Sinister Six under Mysterio's enchantments. The Lizard broke the illusion by charging in ahead of time. But anyways, the Sinister Six see their chance and start pouncing down on him. Meanwhile, back in his Hall of Mirrors, the mausoleum's been rebuilt, I guess. Kindred's back there, though. And he's pontificating some more. Talking about how he's going to bring back one more party to the table. Oh god, we had too many villains already. We have to get some more in here. But if it's any consolation, he hates me as much as he hates you. But it's not going to stop him. And then Sin-Eater crawled out of the ground in a Craven's Last Hunt style grave excavation. Meanwhile, Peter's getting BTFO'd by the Sinister Six, and as Doc Ock's pinning him down, Peter says, "No, Alfred Molina, you're a good person. We're talking about the movie version, not the comic version, because Comic-E was a sociopath." But as Doc Ock puts the squeeze on him, the Sinister Six are like, "Okay, let's just kill him now. Stop looking at him weird. Just kill him already." And Doc Ock says, "Okay, I'll do it." And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, bam, artist change. In comes the Savage Six to BTFO the Sinister Six. Peter uses distraction to get away, and meanwhile, we're back to Sin-Eater, who releases all the sins from ASM 50, from the LR series off into the mists and off into the streets of New York. They go from their cells, from their hiding places, from their graves. See how they come for you. And as Sin-Eater walks away, we cut back to the Vulture, who is trying to target Spider-Man, and wouldn't you know it, the infighting starts again, and Peter's like, "Okay, I have to get out of here. I have to get to MJ," which is really good priorities. Good for you, my guy. What a Chad. Before he gets attacked again by the superior foes. Oh God, everyone's back. Someone please help Peter. He's going to die. What's this in the grades? Okay, hang on. There you go.
You're not supposed to say that out loud. That's supposed to be like, yeah.
I don't care. But anyways, it's now a four-way brawl again as Peter runs away, and all the villains, including the Syndicate, just arrive out of nowhere to continue the fight again. And Fred actually has the MVP play of the issue. He actually has the MVP play 2 issues in a row by intentionally hitting the button on his boomerang and setting it off so Peter can make a clean getaway. And as Peter runs behind a dumpster and catches his breath, out of nowhere comes the Sinister Six. Wait, I should say Sinister 7 because there's 7 of them. But yeah, so the living... Wait, is it 6? Hang on. So it's Sin-Eater, Juggernaut. Juggernaut's here for some reason instead of Count Nefaria. Oh well. Living Laser, Whirlwind, Grey Gargoyle, and Moreland. So it is 6. Okay, it's the Sinister 6. See what I did there? Anyways, issue's over. To be continued.
All right, so...
Oh, wait, no, hang on. I was wrong. There's one more page. So Kindred's pontificating for the 3rd time this issue. And he's talking about the people who are who have changed. Dr. Octopus, for some reason, I guess, is being considered a good guy, even though he's unironically worse than most of the worst political terrorists this past century.
Mm-hmm.
Boomerang, Spencer's pet character, Mysterio, one of my favorite villains, and Beetle, the character that Remender created that he defined. Now let me show you the end. To be concluded, except we have ASM 72, so that's not accurate.
Yeah, the 4-issue miniseries is going to be concluded. Greg, what's your grade?
It's a little bit hard to grade something like this. I'm going to say this again and on the next one, just because we're in the middle of a story. I don't like to knee-jerk give a grade to a chapter without reading the full book. But the art was great, and while the artist did change, I didn't think it was that the styles clashed that much. Bagley looks like he's on top of his game, which is nice, and I will admit I laughed when Black Cat, Wolverine, and the other heroes turned out to be Mysterio's illusions, because I felt the sigh of relief from people who complain about Peter always needing to be bailed out by other heroes these days. I could feel it. I
actually liked it. I actually was like, oh, that was actually something I wanted to give as a positive, is that I actually got legitimately tricked by Spencer and Mysterio.
Yeah, I'll give it overall, and I got tricked also. I'll give it overall an A-. There's nothing particularly wrong with it for what it is. It's well executed. I just give it an A- instead of the full A, because even I think Kindred's pontificating is getting tiresome at this point.
Yeah, I agree. This is definitely, to me, middle chapter syndrome. If I was to give this a grade, it's going to be just a B, a B-. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible, but yeah. Neil, what was your grade?
I gave it a B. This definitely reeked of like, please move the plot along. Again, I brought it up, but Kindred pontificates 3 times in this single issue. It feels like he got derailed just to make room for more action, and it's great to see all this action played out. But it's like, I kind of want the plot to move along a little bit. Art change was a little inconsistent for me. I think that Bagley and Gomez were the highlights of the issue. I didn't feel, was it Zay Carlos who did the other issue?
I think so.
Or did the other part?
Yeah.
Hang on, let me check.
Yes.
Yeah, so Carlos felt a little out of place. Colors felt consistent, which is weird because I don't think of Crossley and Reaver as similar colorists, at least in terms of palette. But I liked it. Needs to say, I think that the introduction of another Sinister Six team was just pointless. I get why Spencer's doing it, but at this point we have so much stuff already happening that we don't need yet another team that wants to kill Spider-Man. How many do we have before this? We had 5, right? We had the Sinister.
We had 6 Sinister Six.
Now we have 6.
Yeah, and I get what Spencer's doing there, but it's like the Scott Snyder effect, where it's like substance or it's like style over substance, and it's like I don't care about Moreland and the Sin Eater Squad. Hey, we should actually. I'm going to use that instead. Sin Eater Squad is actually pretty neat.
Yeah, that actually rolls off the tongue really well.
I like that.
If Paul were here, he'd give it a B.
Yeah, like Paul said, Bagley is Old Faithful. Also, I'm gonna push back on this on the he was the superior Spider-Man. He doesn't remember that. You remember he made the deal with Mephisto in Gage's Superior Spider-Man run.
Yeah, so he doesn't remember a lot of things. Kindred promised him.
That's one of the reasons why he was digging up his old grave in ASM 66.
Yeah. So, like I say, I don't have a ton to say about this issue. Obviously, we're going to talk about the next issue because, oh boy. But I don't want to go terribly long on it, but because I know we got 2 more issues to cover. But let's kind of in our grades, and everybody's kind of going around the room. Adam, you got anything to add?
I mean, I kind of agree with Greg. Like, it is sort of hard to grade this because it feels like you guys have said, like, the plot kind of needs to move along a little bit, and the middle chapter thing. But I don't like. To me, I read it and I liked that it's kind of fast paced and there's this real sense of urgency I felt with Peter trying to make his way through this gauntlet of practically all of his villains and trying to get to Mary Jane and stuff. I don't know. I like that kind of thing. The Kindred stuff is kind of like
get on with it.
Yeah, a little bit, like, because it's like it's kind of like it's that very, it's like meta, like it's almost like Spencer is talking to us, like, oh well, you guys need to be patient, and it's kind of funny if you think of it that way. But I don't know, it is what it is. I really thought that the boomerang helping out was definitely an MVP moment, like Neil said, because I was just thinking as I'm reading this, I'm like, come on, Fred, like, redeem yourself after your betrayal. And he did that, so I was happy with that.
Poor Paul. He is like, he wants to be on this episode so bad. He wishes he could talk, but like I said at the top, he lost his voice. And so otherwise, this is him.
There he is.
F in the chat, y'all.
F in the chat for our good friend Paul. But yeah, all right. So let's jump to the next issue, Neil.
Okay.
Oh boy.
The big issue that we were,
Paul by all whiteboards. Oh, whiteboard.
Whiteboard, yeah, not whiteboards.
Okay, so ASM 72, part of Sinister War, written by Nick Spencer, art by. I was promised Vicentini. I am mad that we didn't get Vicentini. Instead, we got Federico Sabatini. Oh my god, I want to die. Along with Zay Carlos, everyone's favorite hatred child, Marcelo Ferreira, and Carlos Gomez as the artists.
Yeah,
With Alex Sinclair of Oh My God, I Want to Vomit coloring from DC Comics to back us up. So once again, we come and find Kindred. Say it with me, everybody. Pontificating.
I'm sorry, Neil. I'm sorry for everything, Neil.
You better be. So Kindred is pontificating yet again for the fourth time in this read through about deals and compromises, how we how we survive, and how Peter has to look like a chibi character from a childish anime while fighting the Sinister Six. Peter is definitely getting BTFO'd, even though he escaped the Sinister Six last time. I don't get why this is happening. Someone please explain the timeline of this book. But that's not important because years ago, and we're in a flashback now, Norman Osborn is in a bit of a foul mood because the award for outstanding innovation and entrepreneurship goes to, drum roll please. That sounded like a gun. I don't know. That wasn't a drum roll. Mendel Strom, the robot master, and as Norman is
in the button yet.
Get to work on it.
I'll work on it.
But as Norman is drowning his upsetness in alcohol, he gets approached by, I guess, Overdrive in a suit. That's not really Overdrive, it's Mephisto. He basically approaches Norman as a businessman, and Norman asks, so what field are you in? And he goes, acquisitions.
I laughed at that. When I read it out loud, I was like, okay. After I read the issue, I was like, oh, good job.
But Norman over Kindred's narration goes back to his European property where he turned into Tommy Lee Jones for a day and boned Gwen Stacy. I don't know if that's actually the same property, but
why
but he goes but as he goes up the stairs, MJ is confronting Kindred, and MJ says, Harry, please stop all this. It's not too late. To which Kindred says, and except it is MJ, here's a recycled panel from earlier in the issue. The credits are about to roll. But guess what? I have yet more tricks to reveal themselves, and the audience collectively groaned because we're still getting more twists 3 issues away from the end. Meanwhile, back in the mausoleum tunnels, Harry and Carly are wandering around in circles for hours until Harry conveniently notices a crack in the wall leading into the morgue. Carly's morgue, to be specific, where they found the bodies, and Harry stares at a corpse underneath a blanket until he finally gets the cojones to grab the rag and pull up, like Greg did with his shirt there. Okay, he pulled up his shirt. Like I
did not. I was just adjusting myself. So
okay. Okay. So, anyways, back in the Tommy Lee Jones house, Norman is looking around until he finds a vase with the Green Goblin talking back to him. To which Norman says, "No, you're not real. Please get out of my head." And the Goblin says, "I'm real. You're fake. Bye." And Harry goes into the Gotcha Laboratory from Nickelodeon Studios.
That's a Legacy of Evil reference. Let's get it right. It's a 90s reference.
Mm-hmm.
Bettinger. Making shit up again.
But anyways, flashback time where Harry is a little boy, and it's the Coney Island moment that Norman referenced back on ASM 59, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, around there.
Yeah, and so Harry goes on a ride, and Harry goes on the ride, and Norman is watching him, and all of a sudden out comes Mephisto, saying, "Hey, look at me! Oh my God, this cotton candy is massive! Jesus Christ, I'm gonna get diabetes from this." And Norman says, "Well, hang on, man, I'm not interested in this. Who are you?" And he says, "You know exactly what I want." And so I think it's Harry in the. I want to say it's Norman because they look the same, but I know it's Harry, but it looks exactly like Norman because Carlos draws them both the same.
Yeah, you're talking about the AIs.
Yeah,
it's both Norman and Harry. I remember.
Yeah,
they're the same person now.
Yeah, it's like a two-face thing. Half the face is Norman, half the face is Harry.
Yeah.
Have you read Legacy of Evil?
I have. It's just it looks kind of weird, the way that the drawing was establishing it. But anyways, Norman, I guess he. So Harry puts okay. This is the flashback again. I got kind of lost there for a second. So back in the flashback again, Norman puts Harry to bed, rubs his face, I guess to reveal his makeup is coming off, and then goes downstairs to find Mephisto just sitting in his chair. If you remember that panel of Darkseid sitting in a manager's chair, that's what it reminded me of.
Darkseid likes to sit on people's couches.
Yeah, he does. But Mephisto unveils himself as actually Mephisto, and says, "Hey, so you're deep in debt and you're ruined. So we can make something. We can fix this, Bucko." And basically, it's kind of revealed that Mephisto created the Green Goblin, albeit indirectly. But he led Norman down the path to make him Green Goblin.
I have thoughts on that, but I'll save them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a pin on that.
So, anyways, all it cost Norman though was his firstborn son. It cost him Harry. So it's implied that every bad thing that's happened to Harry, including his addiction and Gwen falling off a bridge, that was all Mephisto.
Jeez.
Good work, guys. And
I don't think it's saying that, but okay.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that either. I'm seeing.
I think it's like
it's
he
indirect.
just pushed him.
It's indirect causation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I agree with more of. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of debate on this one, so continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Norman gets approached by the hologram again, says, "I'm nothing if not a survivor." And he actually directly references Legacy of Evil, so if you haven't read Legacy of Evil, go read it for context, because Spider-Man's making a kind of deep cut here. But basically he does a bunch of gotchas, and then it cuts back to MJ again, where she and Kindred are talking. Well, Kindred's talking to her. She's just along for the ride. But Kindred's saying, "We're not always who we say we are. It's time for you to learn the truth, no matter the cost." And it also does flashback to the Chameleon conspiracy. But yeah, I'm guessing it's Liz Allen now.
I just Marvel Unlimited. You cannot read Legacy of Evil, so you'll have to go pick that up at your local comic shop
Or
Comixology.
other places.
Other places. Tor. Go find your friend Tor and rent it.
Tor.
All right, so like I say, that is the review of ASM 72. Adam, I ended with you. I'm gonna start with you. Go to Neil, and then Greg's gonna probably yell at all of us. He's the biggest Green Goblin fan.
For you.
Okay, wait, what did I write for this? My big con was that there's one of the artists drew Sandman without the wrong hairstyle, so that's a big con, and it the book's an F. No, I'm just kidding.
Norman Osborn and Sandman are the same person.
Right.
Finally.
John Byrne, they were cousins.
Yeah. Like I said this on Twitter, I wasn't really sure how to process this. It's such a weird, shocking revelation, and it just proves that, like, to me, that Spencer is like Spencer. He doesn't give a rip, and he's just like, all right, take this. And I think it's interesting that he made this, this ballsy choice, which I don't necessarily think this is I don't really think this is a good or a bad thing. This is something everyone's all up in arms. Well, some people are. I think this is one of those things that you don't have to believe it if you don't want to, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think this is something that probably won't ever really be referenced again. So I just kind of appreciate the risk, the bold risk of tying Mephisto into the Green Goblin backstory. It's interesting and thought provoking. The mystery there. This whole thing has been a huge mystery, and I've enjoyed it. And yeah, I don't know. He's Spencer's insane, and I think it's paying off.
All right, Neil.
And the art was pretty good.
So I'm gonna give this issue an A minus. I think that tying the Mephisto bit into Norman's backstory, while controversial, I think it kind of works. I don't think that Mephisto directly created the Green Goblin. I think it's more just he set Norman down that path, and I think it actually does a lot to explain Harry's motivations of hating Norman, especially in the post-mortem period, because Peter's supposed to be the better man, right? And instead, Peter sold his soul to the sold something to the devil, like Norman did. To him, they are kind of the same person,
Right.
and so while there is difference in why they sold to the devil, Peter sold it to save someone, albeit stupidly, and Norman sold it for fame and prestige. And Harry was ultimately the bargaining chip. I think that the principle remains the same for Harry. Radiac in the chat asked, the real thing is, for what reason did we need this connection? Just to kind of put a final shock in it. And I kind of explained why it works, but it kind of feels like that's more of a death of the author, birth of the reader kind of thing. I do think that going and saying like, haha, guess what, guys? It's not really Harry. Find out next week what Kindred really is. And like, I don't need this. What's the point of that? I was fine with it being Harry.
Me too, yeah.
My biggest con was the art. And actually, I think the art was fairly consistent outside of Federico Sabatini. Zé Carlos, Marcelo Ferreira, and Carlos Gomez all had a very consistent look. I think it actually helped that Alex Sinclair was the only colorist, and he helped tie them together. I don't like Sinclair's colors, but I think that he provided a very consistent way of making them all melt into the same art style. But oh my god, Federico Sabatini, why do they keep you around? I usually don't badmouth artists that aggressively, but oh my god, I was promised good Federico, right? When this issue was first solicited, I was promised good Federico. I got.
That's Neil right now, just breaking glass.
That's my baseball bat through the window.
Dropping bombs in here like crazy, man.
Like I didn't sign. It just looks god awful. Like the Sabatini art looks terrible. Like you said, they got Sandman's hair wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think the art is enough to like boot it down an entire letter grade to B plus. So I'm gonna give it an A minus. Call it there.
All right, A minus. Greg.
I've got two.
What's your grade
grades for this? I have two grades. One is if I look at the issue objectively, I have to give it an A minus. If I look at it subjectively from personal reasons, I'm giving it incomplete. Again, I don't want to.
Right.
Spencer's earned my trust. I'm willing to give Spencer a chance to disappoint me. If this had been Slot, I'd probably have given it subjectively an F already. But
oh god.
But again, that's my own bias. I shouldn't be doing that, and I'm admitting I shouldn't be doing that. But I think the issue is very well constructed for the most part. I agree with you about the art. Most of the art is good. Some of it isn't. And I think the script is good. The deep cuts work, and it's continuity porn in a good way. For the most part, I still blame Norman Osborn for all of his crimes. I don't think he's off the hook because the devil made him do it. He made the original choice, and Mephisto gave him success afterwards, and I think that started with him railroading Strom out. Everything Norman did after that was his own was were his own actions. He's still responsible for all of his own actions. It's still him. Mephisto just kind of gave it a little nudge, because that's what the devil does in these situations. So I've heard people say that Norman lost all of his own agency as a goblin. I do not believe that. What I do believe, though, is that Harry lost a lot of his own agency.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm going to jump in here right quick on that. I think this does honor still the fact that Harry works best as a tragic character who was manipulated by a man, whether that manipulation was driven by Mephisto and Norman or just Norman. The question really has to be: was Norman evil before the incident? Was Norman inherently a guy that was villainous beforehand? Would he always have been?
I tend to think he was, but
right. And I know that's something that our good friend JR Fettinger from used to be SpideyGeekSpot.com would probably pontificate say in a far more eloquent way than I am. But I think that is it becomes basically now a chicken or the egg scenario. What comes first? Does the Mephisto thing drive it, or does the Mephisto thing make it to where Harry's story now is inherently tragic? I think they've done a masterful job. One thing, I think they've done a masterful job trying to get things and reference things and tie everything together. We have some disagreement. Looks like we got some disagreement in the chat. Radiac55 says he's disliked this run more and more as it goes on. The one thing he sees fall flat on its face is bringing out characters that not been part of the series come back, expecting readers to care. You know what? I think that
it works for me, but I'm a whore.
But I'm. Oh God!
You heard him.
I think for longtime readers,
you heard it first. Bashansky whore.
But I get this. I understand this. But for longtime readers, which I think one of the goals for Marvel in general was to bring those lapsed readers back to Spider-Man, as well as drive the new readership too, because there's a whole decade of stuff that never referenced, and I think that bringing some of the best elements of the character, I think Spider-Man and the Hulk are probably the two biggest examples at Marvel of this, where they're trying to bring back some lapsed readers, and I think they've been successful to a certain extent. And I understand new readers being kind of put off. Who the hell's the Foreigner? Why is Ned Leeds back? Why are we bringing back all these old characters expecting us to care? I think that because of resources like Marvel Unlimited, there's a fan base that has devoured these books, and they haven't devoured all of them. And I'm hoping that over the next, especially with the 60th anniversary of Spider-Man, that we'll get these satellite titles finally put up on Marvel Unlimited, so that way people can
bring
go
back J2.
Justice for J2 hashtag.
Anyway,
sorry,
I
Greg.
continue my thoughts. I still feel like in a lot of ways, and again, we can't judge a cell until it is finished. I'm sure we're going to have we'll be able to vote an entire podcast to looking back on Spencer's run. But I look at this also in a lot of ways as Spencer trying to make the best of a bad situation. I mean, I think it would have made more sense if Mephisto had come to Norman, say, after Emily Osborn died. But, she's not dead anymore. Slott brought her back, and that's not been referenced since. So that was completely pointless.
That was such a problematic thing that should have been bigger than it was.
Really? Yeah, it should have been. So
it should have been a far bigger deal to bring back Emily Osborn.
Yeah, so it would have made more sense if Mephisto came to Norman at Emily's grave. That would have made a hell of a lot more sense. But they killed that, and he's trying to resolve all this. You could also
argue that Emily coming back too was Kindred's first salvo, bringing back his long dead mom. Could have been. I mean,
let's see if they do that.
Yeah,
there's still a couple more issues. Let's see. And on the other hand, he's also trying to make sense of everything that's happened with Harry since Harry showed up at the end of One More Day, Chapter 4. So a lot of people have referenced the quote from Life of Riley that Mephisto is not a Spider-Man villain, which I agree with, and I'm not blaming Spencer for this. Spencer did not open this door. Joe Quesada opened this door, and we've been playing with the pieces ever since, and Spencer's is playing with the hand that he was dealt, trying to make sense of it all, hopefully trying to give us something that we can enjoy and resolve, and if not end this, at least resolve it in some form. And
Yeah,
I applaud him for doing that. So, and Harry is a big part of that. Norman and Peter are the two most important characters in Harry's lives. So tying them together like this, like you said before, where they both made deals, albeit for different reasons, gives Kindred a decent motivation, assuming he still is Harry. I mean, I've was wondering about that ever since he asked Chameleon for more chameleon juice. But
so I'm gonna kind of make a blanket statement. Radiac, you're probably gonna disagree with what I'm about to say. If you read my letter in the letters page, and I think it was 62?
50.
52?
I think it was 61.
61. It was the one with Boomerang and Spidey on the cover.
Oh, no, 62 then. Sorry.
Yeah. I have felt like for a long time, and this is no fault of Slot's. I think Slot did more damage to it, but the truth is Spider-Man had been broken for most of the 2000s, really since the reboot. Has been broken in some form or fashion.
We got Venkman saying that he considers like 1998 to be the last canon year for Spider-Man.
I mean,
that's how bad it is.
So yeah, basically the end of Volume 1 is the end of, and a lot of people consider MC2 to be the natural progression of the classic Marvel, and this is just an alternate reality. But outside of the JMS run, I mean, when you sit back and Paul Jenkins run, those two runs really were the best runs of Spider-Man prior to
One More Day.
Prior to this run, I think.
Yeah.
And then One More Day happens, and it ends on JMS's run ends on a very sour note. So it unfortunately kind of taints the rest of the run. But Slott took Spider-Man into all sorts of different directions, and whether you agree with that or not, that's up for debate. Like we're going to have on Spideydude.com later on this show. Later on this year, it'll be Paul and I will do some pre-recorded episodes and release them.
Well, Brian in the Facebook chat said that everyone thinks their childhood version is the definitive version. Okay, I disagree with that because my childhood version, in theory, is Brand New Day, and I still think J.M. DeMatteis is one of the definitive eras of Spider-Man.
Yes, as Comment Bench says in the chat.
I was born in the wrong generation, you say on Reddit.
So, and I agree with that to a certain extent of what our good friend Brian's saying to us. For me, this was a B minus. Or no, I'm sorry, this is not a B minus. This was an A minus, not B minus. That was my other grade. It's an A minus. I thought it was really, to me, I felt like it was well executed. I said that on Twitter to the Spider Talk guys, and they really disagreed with me, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that as a reveal, it uses continuity in a way that honors the characters and the characterization. It doesn't hinder the characterization at all for me. I think that it is a retcon, but I think it's a retcon that sort of fits, and it just depends on your interpretation of Norman, of the chicken or the egg situation with Norman. I think there's far more to the story than what we're getting right now. I think we've still got 2 more issues to resolve this.
And one is 90 pages.
Yeah.
But how much of it is backups? That's kind of the question I've got.
No, I think the reason that Spencer had a co-writer for a lot of this was to throw everything in with the final issue. That's at least my theory, but I do feel like we'll have some backups in there. But I honestly think that that's going to be mostly a celebration of Spencer's run. So I feel like that Spencer's set out to try to fix some things with Spider-Man that felt broken over the years. I think you go back and look at Back to Basics, and especially with us, 1 year ago we started this show. We started with Back to Basics. We literally went back to the beginning of this run, and we've gone through throughout this entire run of the last year, these last 27 episodes, and we've really tried to analyze these books as often as possible. And I highly encourage everybody to do that. And season 1 is going to wrap up when the Spencer run wraps up. We're going to wrap up season 1, start season 2 with Ben Reilly. But
so I did want to kind of talk about Radiac's point. I think there is a certain degree of merit to it. I don't necessarily agree with the thesis, but I can understand the thesis's conception. I think Spencer has this habit, and this is a perpetual one. I think the only time he's avoided this in Superior Foes is when he does so much that like he is eventually like he has too much to work with, and he's trying to juggle, and he trips and spills some of it. He spills his spaghetti, and
Oh, no.
it just feels like some plot points have gotten tossed to the side.
I think a lot of the last probably 12 or 15 or so issues, outside of obviously Sinister War being, its own thing, but you look at the last 12 or so issues of ASM, it definitely has felt rushed, like you say. I don't disagree with that. And listen, we can talk about that too. Paul brings up, all kinds of different directions, but JMS just sometimes gets passed.
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
People are still debating that to this day.
Can I say something about the totem? I don't even really necessarily blame him for that, because that was Ezekiel manipulating Spidey to get killed for him. Spidey wasn't supposed to be a totem itself. Now, what later writers did with that, especially the other, which by the way was more Quesada demanding an event than it was JMS. JMS went on record about that one. So Spidey wasn't supposed to be a totem at all. So the question was just asked, and Ezekiel was a manipulative bastard.
No, I think JMS did, and we can, and again, that's something that we can talk about. We can definitely talk about, especially in the first slot debate thing, because it's going to be the slot versus obviously JMS. Following that run, it's very difficult, and I think that's why.
No, Paul. I don't. Paul. I think Paul and I are kind of on a miscommunication here, because I tend to not be into like the mystical Spider-Man stuff. I don't think the JMS. This is kind of. I think the totem stuff and the other stuff that came after it is one of the weaker elements of Spider-Man. I just think that Spider-Man doesn't really need a whole lot of mystical background.
Yes. I would argue the characterization of Peter and MJ and May in that run is so strong
that it outweighs the negatives of the totem bullshit.
The totem stuff gets a pass from a lot of people because of how well written those three characters were.
It has to be noted really quick. It has to be noted that after Book of Ezekiel, JMS left it open-ended. Peter talks to the guy and he's like, "Well, is it science or is it magic?" And the guy's like, "What do you think?"
I don't know.
Well, it's more like he saw no difference. You could call what some would call science, others would call magic. And it becomes that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about Joe Straczynski. I mean, he's personally an atheist, but he's always been very respectful of religion and the way he writes religious characters. Most of the characters on Babylon 5 were fairly religious, and he didn't present them as caricatures. He didn't say these people were wrong or wrong and stupid. I mean, or like you would expect an atheist to do with a straw man. I mean, obviously, this is a theme in some of his works, and I don't know how many people watched Babylon 5. I love that show, but and part of that was how respectful it was towards differing points of view. So that moment you're talking about between Peter and the guy was the shaman was very much a Babylon 5 moment.
Yeah,
maybe I'm just a meanie bobini about this.
The much like with the slot run, where you can split it up into specific chapters and specific parts. The JMS run has a very clear line of delineation between the JRJR era and then the Mike Diodato Jr. and everything that happened after Romita left. You had Since Past, you had the other, you had the Civil War stuff, and then eventually One More Day. So it's just one of those situations where I think that debate that. You know, that of Ezekiel was very clearly intended to be a definitive end to the code, and that was obviously influenced by editorials. So back to this for a minute, because that's, God, we could spend a whole episode debating on that. And if you want to hear that, let us know in the comments. Be sure to give us a like, share, and subscribe, by the way. And hit that like button and hit that notification bell, too. So, like I say, I think this is one of those things where it uses continuity well. The artwork, pretty at times inconsistent. That's probably my biggest frustration with these Sinister War issues. But I also think I love this because ASM is driving a lot of the ancillary stuff, while Sinister War feels like it's just the big battle. And it's kind of I think Adam put it best when he said it's the anti-clone conspiracy.
Yeah.
The problem,
because I remember, everyone was. I remember people saying, I think that like the ASM issues seemed unnecessary, and the big story was in Clone Conspiracy. So this is the opposite of that.
I do
and
think
it should be in the main book.
I do think on some level, though, it feels like they're kind of indecisive on which book they want to take the lead on. Like Sinister War was like treated as a big deal. It was a fresh new number 1. They made that was when the book started, and then all of a sudden it kind of ASM became the more important book again, and then Sinister War number 2 and number 3 just kind of meandered, and then kind of just fight scene Kindred goes just as planned. all according to Keikaku in his mausoleum of mirrors, and all the important stuff is happening over in ASM. So it's like, why am I buying Sinister War then?
And I hate the way it's been divided up into 2 trades. Just release one big trade with the books
just like what they did,
chronological order.
It's kind of what they did for last. I feel like they made a mistake like that with Last Remains too. Hunted was the way to go.
Yeah, the Hunted was the way to go. All right, so the final issue of Sinister War.
All right,
Neil, let's do it. Yeah, let's get through this last bit, and then I knew there was gonna be a lot of discussion on that last issue, but let's get rolling on this, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so Sinister War number 4 is just titled Conclusion. Ed Brison's the main writer this issue. Nick Spencer isn't. That's a weird.
It is weird.
Little note.
He's working on 90. I mean, not 90. 75.
Substack. Oh,
Substack.
Wait. He is doing 74.
74, 875.
Jesus
God,
Christ.
Marvel, you and your stupid number and stop doing that.
Thanks, Slot.
Yeah, that was that more on Slot than Marvel.
Okay. Art by Mark Bagley, Dio Neves, and Marcelo Ferreira. Inks by Andrew Hennessy, Andy Owens, Dio Neves, and Marcelo Ferreira, and Brian Reber with Andrew Crossley as the colorist. The issue begins with Peter running away. I don't think for any bad reason. He's got the Sinister Six chasing him, and Peter does something smart where he thins the herd by taking Whirlwind, knocking out Living Laser with him, and then paralyzing him with Gray Gargoyle's touch. And so Peter's making a run for it. And then Sin Eater whacks him on the back of the neck with his shotgun. Now Peter's like, this should have killed him, but it didn't. So okay. But Sin Eater's, hey, shotgun time, haha. But then all of a sudden, Peter webs his shotgun and then blows off Sin Eater's hands. It looks so disappointing. Like the way it's drawn is so disappointingly.
The way it's drawn is. I'm sorry, it is. It's awful.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, my hands! Even though he should be like screaming and writhing in pain.
I mean, he is undead technically,
and that's a black guy and some pretty good artwork throughout most of the rest of the issue.
Yeah. So Peter does a nothing can stop the Juggernaut style move and moves away from the innocents and hopes that Juggernaut doesn't bring the whole street down underneath him. Meanwhile, all the interested parties are converging on the building site, and Kindred is, say it with me, everybody, pontificate. No one did it this time. God damn it! I'm so mad.
Pontificating.
But anyways,
it's the Pee-wee's Playhouse word of the day.
Yeah. So Kindred's butt blasted that Peter won't just give up and die. So he, I guess, sends all the Sinister Six teams to fight him. And Peter is in for the fight of his life. You see in the corner, Doc Ock has like knocked out Black Ant and is like fiddling with one of his antenna. But then Morlun gets Peter. And here's where there's how we know Spencer's leaving Marvel for good is that Boomerang jumps in Morlun's sucky suck power and dies.
Yes.
That's right. Spencer's pet character who has survived through Superior Foes, Secret Empire, and ASM is dead. F in the chat, lads.
Uh-huh.
We lost a true G. So yeah, Boomerang's corpse falls to the ground and Peter loses it. You killed him! And Peter goes into Morlun like no other. And the Superior Foes, and Hydro Man, I guess, he's there. They surround Boomerang's corpse, and Beetle has like an actually serious moment. None of this is right. No matter what happens, we're all going to die. He just chose to die on his own terms. And as Peter is knocking down some girders to buy himself some time, the Superior Foes turn the tides by turning on the other Sinister Six teams. It's no longer just Peter. He has the Superior Foes behind him. Mm-hmm. And what's surprising is that Kindred doesn't go just as planned, all according to Keikaku, yet again, like they would do in Young Justice. No, he's actually shocked. Like, he didn't see this coming. And so now Doc Ock has another trick up his sleeve. And even though the Superior Foes are helping him, they're still getting wailed on by the 30 or so villains that are near him. And as Kindred's celebrating, Dr. Octopus does a power play, and he twists Black Ant's antenna to kill the centipedes, to overload the centipedes inside all the villains' brains, which causes them to pass out. And so Doc Ock does some techno babble exposition that you'd see on Star Trek. And he says, and Peter's like, I knew you were Alpha Molina all along. And Doc Ock says, screw off, man. I'm not here for you. I did it because Kindred pissed me off. He didn't he didn't follow through on his end, so I'm out of here. I'm gonna take my ball somewhere else. And he walks away. And that's literally there's one last page. Peter won, I guess. All the villains are dead. Oh well.
No, they're not dead. They're all incapacitated.
No, they're unconscious. I'm exaggerating. But Peter's like, okay, time to get back to work. Kindred's still out there, and he's got MJ. Time to get to work. And meanwhile, we finally get some follow up on Doctor Strange. He won. He BTFO'd Mephisto in a game of roulette. Gotcha, bitch. So Mephisto's disappointed. He's like, well, I guess the house does lose from time to time. Doctor Strange asks, and Spider-Man? And Mephisto just walks into his pentagram room and says, I have a feeling a big loss is imminent. To be concluded in ASM 73.
Okay, so gentlemen.
I can't really grade the issue because I didn't read the issue today.
Then why did I just explain it to you?
I mean,
you're supposed to read them. You're supposed to read the books before you come on the show.
Well, it didn't go up at my source until very late in the afternoon when I was already recording another podcast, and then I scrolled through it while you were doing your summary when it finally went up in my source. That's all I want to say about that. And
your source,
source. But overall, I just, I mean, the main book is more important. I do want to know what the hell Mephisto won back. I know what we hope he won for. No, not Mephisto. What Strange won from Mephisto. I know what we hope he won, but
yeah, there we go.
Thank you, Beckman.
Yeah, there we go.
Beckman.
That's our word. That's a Pee-wee's word of the day.
All right, so Greg, since I ended it with you.
I'll give it a B+. I mean, it was good. It wasn't anything spectacular, but I thought Boomerang had a good death scene, and I liked how his team just decided F Kindred, but at the same time, it's all very middle chapter, and this is the final chapter of an actual comic. I didn't feel there was any need to divide them up like this. Just make it all ASM and have ASM be.
They wanted
weekly
that. They wanted that issue. No, I tell you, this is purely marketing. Let's be real. This was wanting them to do a Return of Ben Reilly in a 75th issue.
Milestone issue.
A milestone.
I know.
Back-to-back milestone.
Hey, marketing guys, you see this?
25 years, almost to the day of the death of Ben Reilly. So
that's right. It is.
So I mean,
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, they don't do cover dates anymore on these books, but I mean, this would have been, 75 would be cover date in December, and obviously that was the same. It was cover date 1996, December 96, released in October of 1996.
It was released in October, I remember.
Yeah, because it was obviously close to Halloween. It's 2 weeks before Halloween, October 16th, 1996.
I remember quite well.
So, yeah, I don't got much to add, but I'll jump over to Neil. What's your grade?
I'm giving it an A. Unlike the last two issues, which just felt like meandrous and, just action. This felt like it had more of a point to it. It felt good seeing Peter finally stand his ground instead of just running away. And using his enemies against each other. I genuinely didn't see Boomerang dying coming. I thought that Boomerang was gonna live and save the day. And he kind of did in a way, but it was more like a ancillary kind of save the day. He bought Peter a little bit of time.
And in a way that doesn't overshadow Peter as the hero of his own book, like a lot of people complain happens.
That said, I think Doc Ock kind of got that a little bit. He kind of did the winning blow and kind of just beat everybody.
Out of everybody that's involved in that situation, if there's going to be a villain other than Norman to get that to say enough's enough, this was probably Otto in character in a way that I haven't seen. And I think Otto was in character for the most part during Superior, but I have not seen this version of Otto, like a classic Otto, in character since the JMS run.
Well, I just want to point out that Otto doing essentially nuking the field is kind of he just beat all 30 members of the Sinister teams by himself, and he earned a double. It made sense. He used Black Ant's powers effectively to defeat Kindred, and I like that Kindred didn't just go smirking and go, "I planned for this all along. What are you gonna do now, Peter Buckaroo?"
You can see the arrogance of Kindred in here, and I do agree with that. Kindred honestly thought that he had stacked the deck to the point where there's no way Peter's getting out of this. No way. And no way
but he didn't predict on Boomerang being the deciding factor.
Didn't predict Boomerang, and didn't predict, even though Ock doesn't understand.
He didn't predict Doc.
He didn't. Doc Ock is no one's patsy, and so
he's a petty MFer
in character for Otto to do that. So I think it's a good moment, and it kind of ties.
Alexa, turn off the room.
Yeah,
and
nobody just went off.
Okay, I'm taking the opening. It also shows that, assuming Kindred still is Harry, assuming he isn't the manipulator his father is either.
No.
With every gun there is, he still couldn't do it.
Well, think about it for a minute. Harry, outside of the robot parents thing, most of Harry's stuff ends up failing at the very end. There's always
it's short-term W's.
Yeah, it's always small victories. It's funny because you sit there and you see Mephisto saying, you can enjoy small victories. Well, that's a lot of what Harry's schemes were all these little small victories. When push came to shove, when the gloves were down, Harry ultimately always lost. And if you believe Norman, all the times that Norman was like, you were always disappointment. He is not his father's son, and his schemes don't always work. Adam, thoughts? What's your grade?
I liked it. A-. I liked it. I I liked it. I liked that it was still pretty fast paced, but I think that kind of worked against Boomerang's death. That felt like it happened very quickly, and there wasn't a lot of room there for it to breathe and for it to really hit you. But but I mean, it's still, the big battle thing. There's no time, I guess. I mean, and the superior foes kind of had that moment, I suppose, but it just seemed kind of fast for me. Bagley killed it on the art here, and I want to say that, like, I get why, like, well, at least I think I get why this wasn't just him doing all the art. But man, if he did all the art here, I'd go as far as saying that this would be like his huge magnum opus.
Oh,
Like, this
that
would be
splash
his.
page. The splash
Yeah.
page is like him doing all the
Yeah.
I call it the Ramita Junior.
Yeah.
JMS
Yep.
splash page.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's incredible.
Chef's kiss.
But this is still like career defining work, though, I would say, even this far into his career. And how many people can say that?
It's truthfully, I think the only person that can really claim that, honestly, other than Bagley right now, is Ramita Jr. especially.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he had a distinct run in the 80s. He had a distinct run in the 90s. And yes, it was more of a continuous thing once he got off Peter Parker and jumped over to ASM. But he had three very distinct, very unique runs, and you're getting the same thing with Bagley here. You had his first ASM run, you had his Ultimate Spider-Man run, which would be a career definer for anybody, and then for him to come back here and just kill it every time he was on the book. I'm really glad that they brought Bagley in. As much of it as it sucked to lose Otley, to lose an Otley but gain a Bagley, I think is a massive win for the Spidey.
Yeah, because it was just, and like I think we've all kind of said before, it just kind of feels like Spider-Man, and it's familiar, and it's like, welcome back.
I just realized an art error on the page where Doc Ock is walking away. Boomerang's body's just also there. He's just kind of leaning against a pile of rubble, even though he's supposed to be like permadead.
Oops.
Well,
he got better.
Yeah, I mean, he'll get better, maybe. Who knows?
Again, also, the one thing that we haven't really touched upon is this Kindred. Part of the thing with Kindred stuff too is the fact that it's also a commentary on the death in the on death in general in the Marvel universe. We sit there and think about it. How many has been brought back and been killed off, and brought back and killed off, and now we can definitively say, outside of Gwen and Ben, throughout this run, everybody's been brought back. Ben, Gwen, and Captain Stacy. So
Frederick Boswell was brought back.
I think there was still more story that Spencer was going to tell, but obviously we're getting this. We got really two issues. We got a regular issue and then a triple sized issue. So is next week 74 or 73?
I think so.
73 is next week. Okay. ASM 74 is on the 25th.
Yeah. 22nd, I think.
I think it's going to be batten down the hatches. I think it's going to be controversial no matter what happens.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very unique to see. Guys, give us your thoughts in the comments, what you guys think about what we've talked about tonight, and go from there. Soflo is giving it some grades. He gave it an A. I think he gave the other one a B. I'm loving some new faces in the chat, by the way. Radiac and Elijah, welcome to the show. You guys, welcome. We are so happy. Matt Unger says, "I really wish there's a resurrection train would just go away in comics." You're right.
I've got a better idea. Just stop killing off characters all the time, and you won't have to do that. Yeah. There was a time when if you didn't see the body, they weren't dead. A character can fall off a cliff. Just don't find the body. That's it. Just stop killing characters off. Then you won't have to resurrect them.
Well, the death. I'll say this. We have a death here with Boomerang, and at least that Spencer went out of his way to make the character death mean something.
I was surprised
Yes, I
that like
agree.
he killed off his pet character, but I guess he's like, if I can't
Yeah.
have Boomerang anymore, then nobody else can have him
None
now.
of you can.
Yeah, I still want a Marvel Legend of Overdrive. By the way,
You want a really hot take?
Yeah.
No, it's
Uh-oh.
not really. It's probably not a controversial take, but like maybe some characters should just like retire and pass on the mantle to others. I don't know. Like it's sort of like Jeopardy, where like everyone's like, maybe we should just keep this thing going. It's like, no, I want a sense of finality or something. Maybe I don't want this gravy train to keep on going. As much as I love the character of Spider-Man, at
Sure.
some point, much like the occupation of Afghanistan, some things have to end.
Well,
I
what
mean,
did I say about
honestly,
in the
we're
world
gonna
of
stay out of that element, but
Neil?
what did I say? Hey, remember what I said at the beginning of the show about how I tweeted JMS? Is there a version of Spider-Man in the world of B5 regain his powers after the Earth and Bari War due to the slide in timeline?
Look, man, I'm just saying some things can go on forever.
yeah. So we got some.
He'll outlive us all.
It's scary to think that these characters
Chat.
are going to outlive us, though. Really,
Questions,
brings
concerns,
the
comments?
Because they
existential
have
dread
they
out.
have they have more worth to them than we do. We are inherently
Expendable.
worth less.
Meanwhile,
we
I
are
have
worth-
this right here, and this is ending due to author.
That's probably worth
existence.
more than your. That's probably worth more than your life.
Jesus. All right. So let's do some comments from in the peanut gallery. Let's go through and go from there. We don't have any voicemails lately, so if you want to leave us a voicemail, let us know. But like, we're gonna get some final comments from everybody. Also, go on the YouTube page. I have not checked the YouTube lately, last couple days, but go to youtube.com/Spideydude Radio Network and become a subscriber today. I'm excited that we finally were able to get that URL situation.
Oh, yes.
So much better than what we were having to do.
Yes.
I do want to talk about, and I'll give you guys a chance to think about it, but I do want to kind of talk about 1 year in now. We are a year in.
Yeah.
It's exciting. We've been not quite twice a month. There's been some months. We obviously had the one episode in June, or the big birthday episode, because we had the birthday of the website. So first of all, I want to thank some people, guys that I have not been able to get on lately. Guys like Brian Cochran and his son. Wish he was on. Wish he was a part of this. But thank you, Brian. Thank you to Kelly. I know she was on an episode, but she hasn't been able to come back on. But you can always catch her on.
She was on for 10 episodes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's on. Yeah, she's on 10 episodes. So she's on almost half the run. So Kelly's
she was on up until ASN 850.
That's right.
And then she went to go run Make My Mayday. I'm hoping she comes back for the last episode.
Yeah, I would like to have everybody back for the big finale. But obviously, thank you to Adam and Neil. You guys have been on almost every episode. You guys have been a great addition. Of course, Greg, you know how I feel.
Thank you.
I didn't want to talk about Hunted. That's the only reason I wasn't on for that one.
Yeah, I think Neil and Adam only missed one episode each. Paul's been in and out.
It's maybe been like a couple now, but I'm there for like 95% or whatever. Whatever. Who cares? We're doing it. It's fun.
I'm hoping to be there for all of season 2 once we get into the Beyond.
Oh God, I'm not looking forward to that release schedule though.
This episode brought to you by the Beyond Corporation.
Yeah,
I need to make some merch.
We're gonna sit down and we're gonna have a big I don't want to call it a corporate meeting, but we're gonna have like a big group meeting about how we want to approach the show. Are we gonna go weekly? Obviously, my work situation will be kind of dictating on that, but more to come on that.
I wouldn't be able to commit to weekly anyway. So
right, it's gonna be hard. I do want some more reviewers and a rotating review staff for the front page. So if you feel like you can write and you want to send me a sample review, you can always send me an email at SpideydudeRadioNetwork@gmail.com. I will look at it and I will give you and things that I'm looking for. I'm pretty simple. I don't like things being broken down by pro, con, grade on written reviews. I'd rather you just be able to pontificate your thoughts in one coherent structure. More heavy on the thoughts and less on the recap, so that way people can go back and read it. And things you like. You know, you can point out things specifically with the artwork and stuff. But so yeah, if you want to just leave me a review on that, that is something that we want to do. We want to expand our staff. I want to talk about the last year. I want to start by saying something publicly that I've said privately, but I want to say it publicly. 15 years ago, I started podcasting on the Spider-Man crawl space, and I wouldn't be sitting here doing the show. I wouldn't have the equipment that I have. I wouldn't have this microphone. I wouldn't have this lovely soundboard.
You wouldn't have your Nevada basement.
You know, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have all this fun stuff. Probably, I wouldn't be certainly wouldn't have met some of the people I've met over the years. So a big happy 15th anniversary of the crawl space. Big thank you to Brad for giving me my start. But a year ago, I left in last May, not this last May, but the previous May of 2020. And one of the goals I set out for myself personally was to start a show and do my own thing. And these guys have been so instrumental in being a part of it. Paul also, he's in the comments, I think.
He left.
Oh, he had to leave.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for Paul. And somebody send him DM him in the chat so he can hear this. You know, Paul's been an incredible asset to the show, to the site. Brian has written numerous reviews for the site, and I'm not trying to replace Brian, but I know it's going to be a very tough workload to try to get weekly, damn near weekly reviews. When I started this network in October, it will be year 12. When we started Clone Saga Chronicles, it was around this time that we started recording the first episode. I never thought I would be doing my own modern Spider-Man show, but I'm glad I have. It's been a journey for those that have been with us. Guys like SoFlo, guys like Vinkman. Vinkman's been with us from the very, very beginning. I'm so thankful for those that have tuned in. I'm thankful for new people that jumped on. We have 100 subscribers now in a year. Now, granted, I would love to have more, but we accomplished that goal in a year. We started with 0. We started this show.
Yep.
We started this channel with 0 subscribers.
In a cave with a box of scraps.
We did. I am in a cave now. My voidless wall and literally the only thing I have here is a bed, my computer, a small desk, and snacks.
Well, very soon you'll be in a personal space that is all yours again, decored the way you like it.
Yeah. Personal note: if you use U-Haul and they tell you not to put on your own locks when they're out of locks for sale, tell them to go pound sand because otherwise you get stuff stolen. Now, granted, I've gotten most of that stuff back because they weren't foolish enough to get rid of it, but they bent my tray. I'm still pissed off about it. So, what I want to accomplish in year 2. Final thing about being retrospective. Year 2, I want to get. I'm still waiting on some answers on Forgotten Era. That may get delayed until the winter. I want to do it right. I want to do it different from CSC. Obviously, the CSC finale is going to happen. It is going to happen. We're going to close that chapter and then open the Bailey chapter up. But if you really, my goal is I'm going to try to get all the Spec Radio episodes and all the CSC episodes here on the channel. So if you have not listened to those and you're a fan of the channel, you'll get those. That is something I'm going to try to do between now and the end of the year, especially with Ben Reilly being a part of this of Spider-Man, and it'll be a new and different way to listen to the show. There will be a new intro, by the way, for the early episodes. But I'm so excited. I can't wait to do the commentaries. I can't wait to do the Forgotten Era. I can't wait to do Voices from the Eerie and participate in that show. And more Make Mine Made. And so I'm so thankful for Kelly in that show. We've blown way past where our old show Mayday Mondays ended prematurely, and we've forged our own path, and we're almost done with volume 1 of Spider-Girl. Well, by the time we get done with tomorrow's episode, it'll be issue 70. We'll have 30 issues left of the first volume, and then we'll have the 25 issues of the second of Amazing Spider-Girl, and then we'll also start getting into pretty soon the other 2 miniseries, and so I'm excited about that. Like Last Hero Standing, Last Planet Standing. There was an A Next and a Fantastic Five mini too that came out during that period of time. So if you like MC2, that's the place to you. So Vinkman left us a question in the comments. Before you go, question for Greg: how do you prefer reading and collecting your comics? Individual issues, collected editions, digital, or a combination of all 3?
I haven't really made the leap over to digital, so a combination of the 2. But these days I don't have a local comic shop anymore, so I read them online and then I buy the trades, especially if I like the book. But I don't collect old vintage issues now. I'm buying omnibuses, although that's going to come to an end soon. I've got Amazing Spider-Man Volume 5 on pre-order at Amazon, plus Fantastic Four Volume 3 and 4 on pre-order, and those will be expensive, but...
Yeah, I keep checking out Ollie's, hoping that there will be... because I found some Guardians of the Galaxy trades that were just ridiculously priced. But, yeah... I read. The Spencer run got me getting individual issues again, and for a while I wasn't, and right now I'm not, just because of geographic stuff, and I haven't found a comic shop down in Houston yet. Like in my area, I know where one's at, but it's like with Neil, and I don't really, frankly, want to drive an hour plus to get my comics to go. No offense to Neil.
Yeah.
That's fine. I used to drive half an hour to work, and then I would get my comics on the way back. But eventually, no, I just quit my job and got a new one.
Yeah. So I read a combination of the 3. Like I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to eventually get the Clone Saga omnibuys, and then I think I'm going to start looking at getting ASM collected. But I've been going back and trying to recollect a lot of the issues I had as a kid in preparation for Forgotten Era. I went back and I'm rebuying a lot of the issues I had as a kid, because I used to like fall asleep with my comics and then they would just fall apart. I would read them so often. And so I'm going to have my reader versions and then my collector versions. So but yeah, I'll collect. I will get collected editions like Spider-Girl. I will get all of those because those are just easier for me to read to my daughter, and go from there. So big thanks to Vinkman for helping me damn near complete my my Spider-Girl collection. And I'm going to tell this. The first
Big thanks to Vinkman for being such a frequent supporter.
Yeah, thank you, Vinkman, for being the supporter that you are and continued support that you do. There'll be some more exclusive goodies for the Patreons, like I mentioned it before. Wanting to grow that and make that bigger and better and better. So that's kind of the plan for year 2 of Spideydude Experience. Obviously, we're going to jump forth head first into the craziness of Spider-Man Beyond. So that'll be something that'll be really good. So, all right, Neil, did you want to jump in on the question, even though Greg answered it?
I do a bit of all 3. I have a little collection on my shelf of trades. I've got 3 long boxes right down here with a Staples button. Yeah, see, that was easy. And a thing of Icy Hot. But yeah, I've got 3 long boxes worth of comics down there, and I've got about 1,000 comics on Comixology, not including trades.
Yeah. Adam?
I do a combination. I like getting collected editions a lot. I think lately I think that's just the most worth it,
I agree.
You get like 12 issues or whatever for like however much that is, and I like doing that. I like having the books on the shelf. It looks good. I do digital ish. It's convenient. I don't really mind it. But really there really isn't nothing can really replace that feeling of the physical copy.
The smell of the books in your hand.
Exactly. Well, yeah, the smell is
What the?
I miss having
out of this
having a local
world.
comic shop.
Yeah, when as everybody knew, and we talked about, I moved completely to Houston, and I had to leave my comic shop back home behind, and they've been so great with me, and they're going to be shipping my books to my house, at least for now, so I can find me a shop up there. My wife still has a giant box of Funkos that we gotta peruse through.
I've got a giant box. I've got a giant box of vinyl just lying in my cabinet.
So, yeah, Venkman, and I also heard what you offered me, and I am interested. I'm not going to go into details, but until later. But sorry, buddy, I hadn't got a chance to respond. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, but yeah, like I say, I'm really excited. We're really excited. Everything is really great. I'm still up in Nebraska, obviously working, and I'll be up here for the foreseeable future until I can get a good paying job down there. Love my job. So, for the record. But yeah, no, I'm going to. So with that, I'm going to begin wrapping up this episode, and so big thanks once again to our good friends at Patreon.com, guys like Pinkman, Jurgen, a new Patreon subscriber, Scott, and Greg. Thanks again, Greg, for your contributions as well. If you want to be a part of the program, of course, you can always leave us a voicemail, 818-925-6631. Follow us on YouTube at youtube.com/Spideydude Radio Network. And you can find us on Twitter at Spideydude Radio. If you want to follow me there, you can also follow me at Spideydude on Twitter as well. Facebook and Instagram at Spideydude Network. We'll be doing some more Instagram stuff for that. Of course, you can always catch Neil on the Bogan Rider Variety Hour.
Whenever that comes out, I don't know. We're working on it.
He's working on getting a consistent schedule. It was on Saturdays. Paul's not here, but you can check out his YouTube channel, The Comic Binge. Follow him on Twitter at Herman22. You can always follow at Erie. From Greg XB, Make My Maydays Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll be covering Spider-Girl 70 or 67 through 70 next episode on Make Mine Mayday. So we hope to follow you then. Of course, we thank everybody for listening to this episode, and we appreciate you audio listeners as well. Leave us some reviews, and we'll read them later on. So thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time here on the Spideydude Experience. Almost done with Season 1. Season 2 going to be starting just in a few weeks. We'll see you next time, a couple weeks, where we cover 2 more issues, maybe 3 weeks, 2 more issues of The Amazing Spider-Man, and wrap up the Spencer run. So hope to see you there. Hope to see you then. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.